Welcome to Darryl Company. Today, our guest is Michael Bobbitt. Michael is the Executive Director of the Massachusetts Cultural Council. The Council's work is to enrich and grow our communities through art and creativity. Michael, thank you for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Darryl. I'm happy to be here.
So, Michael, you've been the Executive Director of the Cultural Council since February. What's it like running the largest arts organization in the state?
Oh, when you say it like that, then my eyes go wide. It's it's pretty exhilarating. It's a dream job. I've been in the arts all my life, and most of the time I've either been an artist or running an arts organization, which has a whole nother set of circumstances. When you're an artist, you're scrambling to find work, gig to gig, paycheck to paycheck. And when you're running an organization, you're scrambling to just keep the lights on. And so now that I get to sort of help facilitate paying those lighting bills or finding work for artists, it's a lot more fulfilling. I find it exhilarating, and there's a massive list of things that I want to get accomplished. And so I'm happy to have this kind of job that can allow me to do some of those things.
It's awesome. It must be a pretty rewarding role. I have a son that's an artist, and like you said, always looking for a gig, the next gig, the next gig, the next gig.
So he'll be living with you until he's 45, right?
Probably. Art and culture is certainly a big part of every community in the state. Can you give us some information on how it actually impacts the economy of Massachusetts?
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that question, and I'm going to get there, but I want to say a couple of things first. A lot of people think of the arts and culture as, helping to make life better. I mean, if you think about how many of us got through the pandemic, it's because of the arts and culture, books and TV shows and podcasts and digital experiences. So the quality of life is certainly enhanced by arts and culture. And if you also think about it, when we want to make our state or our towns or our cities more competitive, arts and culture is one of the things on that list that with huge investment in arts and culture, it attracts people to those areas. So as the Commonwealth thinks about becoming even more competitive and rebuilding from the pandemic, I think that investment in arts and culture is really, really amazing. But when it comes to like the economic impact that we have, one, with the jobs that we offer, because it's a massive sector. The year before the pandemic, there were 71,000 jobs in the Commonwealth that were arts and culture related. That's quite a bit of income tax to put into the state's GDP. I think we're the third largest sector affecting the GDP in the whole Commonwealth, which is pretty impressive. I think it was $2.3 billion we put in, which is quite amazing. On a national scale, most people don't know this, but the creativity sector puts $919 billion into the national GDP, which is bigger than agriculture and construction and education. And so everyone, I mean, there's not a day you can go, maybe an hour in your day where you're not affected by arts and culture. So it's a huge economic driving force. And beyond that, when people consume art and culture, say you're going to see a concert or a play or a dance, you might get your nails done, you might get your hair done. I don't, but you might get your hair done. You are probably driving or using rideshare or public transportation. You're certainly parking. You're maybe going to a restaurant before, a bar after. So there's a ton of secondary spending that happens. So all these sectors that are surrounding arts and culture benefit from arts and culture consumption. So it's a huge industry. And when I say that I don't think the state can recover from the COVID crisis without significant investment in our recovery as a sector, I really mean that.
That's one of the things I like about doing this show is you learn something new every day. And, being a banker, you're involved in the economy and you're involved in different businesses, but to hear how big the arts and culture are in terms of our the economic impact they have, that's fascinating. And yeah, we all did enjoy it during the pandemic, which, kind of makes me think though, what has been the impact on the art and cultural organizations throughout the state during the pandemic? A lot of obviously a lot of in-person things couldn't happen for a long time. And then, are we out of the woods yet with this?
It's been devastating. I like to borrow my friends from California's term. They've been calling it a cultural depression because all those artists that were out of work. We had a survey that went out in March of last year, and there were 31,000 jobs impacted by COVID. So all those artists are out of work, and cultural workers, not just the artists, but the administrators. Huge. The arts field in Massachusetts reported $588 million in losses. And that was just the people that filled out our survey. It didn't include, the private sector, all the casinos and the big touring arts venues. So I think the impact was somewhere in the billions. I don't think we'll ever really know. We were the first industry to close and the last one to open. And again, all those restaurants and such were struggling without the consumption of arts. So we're not out of the woods yet. Everyone is starting to make new COVID-related guidelines, either wearing masks or showing you a vaccine proof. Now that we have the Lambda variant on our tails, and we just are now hearing about the Mu variant, I think that it's going to be a while. And I've been reminding my colleagues that, think back to all the viruses that we've suffered through as a human species. It wasn't a year that we recovered. Polio was the last big one that we saw in the 40s, and theaters were shut down for about 5 years because of that. So I think we're a little bit better than that, but it's going to be 5 to 10 years before we fully recover from this.
Wow, that's the stark reality, isn't it?
Yep.
But we will get through it.
We will.
Massachusetts is a great state, and the city of Boston is an awesome place, and it certainly is a place where art and culture is promoted and enjoyed. So we're lucky to be here.
Yeah, we are. And as I'm getting around, I'm sort of new to the area. I moved up here 2 years ago, and most of my year was stuck inside. So now that it's getting easier and safer to go out, I've really been enjoying meeting all the arts and culture groups across the state. There are some firsts here. I mean, the amount of history in arts and culture that was designed in this state is pretty remarkable. I think there's some assets that I want to uplift and get our legislators to understand and bring to the forefront that are pretty incredible.
So I'm going to ask a little personal question. What is your favorite type of performance to watch when you're off duty?
Oh, that's kind of like splitting my baby in half. What was that biblical figure that did that? I don't know. Probably, I guess safest would say theater, because that's what I know the most. But my formative years in the beginning career as an artist, I was a trumpeter. And so being able to go and listen to European classical music again has just been wonderful. I also spent many, many, many years as a dancer, trying to pursue a career as a ballet dancer. It took me till I was 22 to understand that I'm 6'2" and 200 pounds at my lightest, and ballet is probably not going to happen for me. But I just enjoy the physical demand and in many ways the pursuit of the perfect technique that I found admirable about those artists. So it's good to see it again. And then I'm being introduced to art forms that I've not known before. So I think that will be determined. If I have to say something now, it probably still is theater, and probably closer to musical theater. I just enjoy it so much.
Nice. Well, this was a really interesting conversation. I really appreciate you being on our show today. And so thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and continue doing what you're doing in the community. We need your help.
And thank you to all of you who are watching Darryl Company.